It wasn't long before everyone else was gathered too. So, was everyone able to manage their tablet properly? It was a bit of a trial, I must admit, but it was no match for me. It's a pretty good coding job. This wasn't just thrown together. Whoever made it clearly spent quite a bit of time on it. What are you talking about? It's just a few buttons. That's Tiger, I think you're underestimating the work coders do. Even something as simple as creating a clean, well-working UI with nothing but custom code can be a real challenge. Plus, it's apparently connected to the system which will move our animals around. That's not even mentioning how it was modded onto a pre-established tablet, which tends to have a hell of a lot of firewalls to stop stuff like that. I mean, it's not like it's the most amazing invention of all time, but there's definitely a bit of work that went into it. Oh shit, a lot of work also went into kidnapping 12 people and decking a whole school out to be a fucked up killing game. Is this discussion fruitful? Surely our time would be better spent discussing the abilities we each possess. That's an excellent point, Monkey. We ought to start talking about that. In fact, I'll start. My ability is called Sneaky Rye. It allows me to... It allows me to choose an animal, and then later when that animal moves, I move the same number of spaces. A reference to the original Fable, no doubt. That's a pretty handy ability. I guess, but it's kind of dependent on other people. It's a very mind-gamey ability. It requires you to predict when other people move and how far they move. Either that, or, on the other hand, it could be a very teamwork-based ability. We'll see how that plays out. That's why it's so handy. It's a perfect example of mirrored play. Mirrored play? It's a concept that comes up in a lot of places, though most frequently in gambling. Just as an example, let's say you and Rooster had a little bet going. You two were at a casino and you were competing to see who could win the most money at a roulette table in an hour. Ha! I'm down. Rooster, this is just an example. Now let's say with 15 minutes left, Mouse, you've got 45 chips and Rooster has 30 chips. What? I rule at roulette? Why would I be losing? Like Mouse said, it's a hypothetical. Well, your hypothetical sucks if it involves me losing. Fine, you're at 45 and she's at 30. Happy? Yes, that fits much better. Great. Now let's say Mouse bets all 30 of her chips on black. What would you do? Easy, I bet 45 chips on red. And that's why you were stupid. Why? Because I'm not to be outdone, and red's my lucky color. You sound like you'd be fun to gamble with. But no, the right choice would be to also bet 30 on black. If the roulette ends up on red, she'd be out and you'd be left with 15. Whereas if the roulette ends up on black, you'd still be leading 90 chips to 60. Yeah, but if you bet 45 on red and it winds up red, you'd have 90 and stupid Mouse would have nothing. You realize that in context of the bet, it doesn't matter if you will be up by 90 or if you win by 15, right? Maybe if you're playing a coward's game. Okay, well, I think Rooster's not going to get it, but I hope my overall point is clear. Mirrored play refers to the strategy where if you're in the lead, sometimes your best bet is to just copy what your opponent does. That way, they'll never be able to catch you. In the context of the race, if Mouse only had one opponent, and she was in the lead, this ability would guarantee her victory. Of course, the issue with this strategy both here and elsewhere is that other people exist. It's not like you can copy all 11 people's moves. If you knew who would move the most spaces each turn, you can guarantee a joint win at least. I see what you mean. Still, I don't know how helpful it will be for getting a 12-way joint win. I don't think my ability is going to be any more useful. I've got a thing called Stampede. Basically, it allows me to move to the space behind the animal currently in first place. That's actually a massive ability. Like, it basically means everything you do before the final turn, before the second final turn, is completely irrelevant. Basically, you can't do it last turn, because if you do it in the last turn, then you'll be one space behind the finish line and you'll get executed. So you need to do it in the one before that if you are in a losing position at that point. Before that, it's pretty damn good. That doesn't sound that bad. If you're way behind, that could move you way further up. Sure, but it never lets me actually take the lead. Plus, thanks to the movement order, it'll always work out so that after I stampede, the person in first will be able to move again. Always? Oh, because Ox is second last in terms of move. Wait, what? Well, technically, the next turn, they'll move first. Yes. My ability is super cool. It's called Dive. It lets me instantly move to the nearest river. With that, you could take an early lead and move 8 spaces forward on the first turn. Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be the most consistent ability. After all, it's the closest river, yeah? I'll need to move forward a bit before I could use it again if I don't want to jump back to the first river. And after I pass the second river, it's completely useless. It's basically completely useless after the point of you having made it to the first river. Because as far as I remember, from then onwards, gaps are pretty narrow. At least your ability is consistent. Mine's called Lucky Bounce. It moves my animal either 1, 2 or 3 spaces forwards at random. That's a great ability. For one, well, it's not brilliant, but it's good. It takes any, well, I say it takes any sort of gimmicks out of it. It's a gimmick in and of itself. But it's a guaranteed upgrade on the normal run, because the normal run always moves you forward 1. This ability moves you forward 1 guaranteed or more, up to 3. However, it cannot, unless you get really lucky, guarantee you will win, because you'll need... Actually, I was thinking of 8. Why was I thinking of 8? You've got 12 rounds. So if you have the most average luck out there, just using Lucky Bounce 12 times will automatically get you to the finish line. Now granted, if you've got below average luck, you won't get there. But I think it'd be worth trying if you're above the standard expected outcome for like 2 or 3 rounds at the start, or maybe even 4 or 5. If after 5 rounds you're further than 10 spaces, it might be worth going for that and just keeping with it until you get to the finish line. But I digress. At random? That's odd. Why? Well, all the other abilities seem consistent. It's an odd design choice to add a single piece of randomness. Well, we've only heard of 4 other abilities so far, right? We don't know if all the others are consistent. Yeah, well, I think it's probably based on the idea of a lucky rabbit's foot. It's pretty useless though. It's not useless at all. It pretty much completely... it makes your run ability completely useless. My ability is pretty kick-ass. At least this Jade fuck had the good sense to let me fuck shit up. I've got Dragon Breath. I can choose any lane to breathe fire on. At the end of the turn, anyone on that lane gets burned and they won't be able to move for the next 3 turns. Oh god. That's pretty rough. Also, if we actually want to get a 12-way win, absolutely fucking useless. Unless there is a rogue person who tries to screw us all over by moving on ahead, then she could technically use that ability to stop them. But considering she, from all the characters I've met so far, looks the most likely to go rogue, an offensive ability? Won't be able to move, huh? So that means abilities that don't involve you moving would still be active. Seems like. That might be useful if someone tries to rush to first place. Or if Dragon wanted to rush to first place. Oh, quit your whining, will ya? I know I might come across bad, but I'm not some scum who'd sacrifice others to save herself. I was just, angry at the fact that I was kidnapped and put in this situation. Alright, Dragon, we forgive you. Yo, I'm not apologizing for shit. Get that thought out of your head. I mean, she is right there. There's nothing she has to apologize for. Not to us, at least. I'm just saying I'm not looking to kill anyone today. Well, we'll leave it at that then. Snake, what about you? Ah, my turn to divulge my ability, yes? I believe it would be prudent for me not to say it at this moment. Why did I expect that? What? Snake, are you serious right now? I ask that you trust me when I say that I doubt it would be of much use in this situation. That's not the point, Snake. We all agreed that we share our abilities. As a matter of fact, I don't believe anyone ever said that, merely that we should all check them and reconvene. But either way, I don't hide my ability for no good reason. While I would love for everyone to work together and get out smoothly, I somehow doubt that the Jade Emperor would go through all of this if it would be simple. There is a real chance we'll end up having some among us who betray the group's trust and attempt to win alone. In that case, my ability may be a last-minute tool to prevent such a scenario. However, I must admit my ability is highly conditional. If a potential betrayer knew it ahead of time, they'd easily be able to counteract it. Therefore, for the sake of the group, I believe it best to keep this ability to myself until further notice. Well, that makes sense, I guess. You make a convincing argument, I must admit. I don't like it. Me neither. How do we know anything this fuck just said is even true? Look, if I really had nefarious intentions, I could simply make up an ability of not much use and claim it as my own. Does the fact that I'm outwardly withholding my ability not in itself imply I'm trustworthy? He's got a point there. Seems like some backwards logic to me, but whatever floats your boat. Whatever, we don't have time to go back and forth like this. We can't start doubting each other this early. If Snake says he has a good reason for withholding his ability, I'm going to trust him. I appreciate that, Mouse. No, your trust is not misplaced. Well, if that's settled, should I go next? Yeah, go ahead. I've got a move called Steady Gallop. It lets me move 3 spaces. That's it? That's it. So I guess it's just a better run then. It's simple. I like it. I was literally about to say that. It's just a straight up upgrade over Bunny's ability. Would you look at that, Bunny? It appears Horse simply got a better version of your ability. Hey, I guess you're right. How unfair is that? Who's balancing this thing? I don't know. Maybe there are situations where it's better for your movements to be random? Oh, no, I do know such a situation. I struggle to think of such a situation. With Dragon's ability, she can target a specific row, but she can't target that row if she doesn't know where you'll be beforehand. I think at least that's how it works. I don't know if my ability is any good. It's called Sweet Sleep. It does nothing on its own, but it lets me make 2 extra actions next turn. That is a pretty sick ability. Hey, that could be good. It's not exactly a very fast-paced or flashy ability, though. Abilities don't need to be fast-paced or flashy. It's a very good ability early on. It can suck later on when you know you need to do something now and you don't have time to wait a turn, but for now it's pretty good. My ability is also conditional, however. I find that it may be of use to the group. It's called Monkey See, Monkey Do. It allows me to use any of the abilities used last turn as if they were my own. Oh, that's really powerful. So basically you get to use anyone's ability? That's like wicked busted, man. That's an ability fit for a main character, not some supporting role. Am I merely a supporting role? You're a therapist. You support people. That's your role. I don't know if it's actually all that powerful. I mean, don't get me wrong, in the right context it could be great, but it's only ever going to be useful if other people are using their abilities. You can never fire the first shot, as you will. Instead, you're entirely dependent on the actions of others. But if things get to a point where most people are using their abilities frequently, she'll be in a powerful position. Hopefully it won't get to that point. Alright, let's get to my ability already. And man, you guys are gonna love this. Seriously, you better start kissing my ass now, trying to win me over. Just get on with it. I've got a thing called Encouraging Crow. It moves any other animal 4 spaces forwards. 4 spaces, huh? That could be pretty good. But you can't use it on yourself, right? Only other people. Yes, well, I imagine people will be begging for me to give them this blessing. Seems to me like out of anyone, you're the one with the most supporting role in all of this. Well, you know what they say, if you shine the brightest, you only shine slightly brighter than everyone else's brightness. We don't have time to try deconstructing that. Dog, could you tell us your ability? Sure thing, not that it's much of anything. It's called Rabbit Leap. I jump over the closest person in front of me. And by jumping, I basically mirror my position in relationship to theirs. Like if someone was 1 space in front of me, I'd move 2 spaces. But if someone was 3 spaces in front of me, I'd move 6. That sounds insane. Who the hell put this OP ability in there? What the hell? That's basically a guaranteed win as soon as anyone's over the halfway line if he doesn't move before that. And he absolutely shouldn't. What the hell? Although let me think, there actually is not... There isn't an option for you to not move. Unless you put in a very shitty confession and the Jade Emperor decides to not move you. There's no way for you to not move. And honestly, I think if Dog would put in a shitty confession, the Jade Emperor would move him 5 spaces to spite him because of his ability. That's my bet. But so the only real way for him to get that, get the most out of his abilities, to move as little as possible. So basically to just run and hope that someone very early on gets very far and quite far ahead of him. Because if by like turn 4, Dog is in space 4 and someone else is already in space 15 or something, he could use this ability and move himself forward quite far. Because they'll be, what did I say, 4 and 15, right? Dog is in 4, the other one's in 15. That would move Dog forward 22, I think, which would put him in at the end, at the finish line, basically. So it's the most overpowered ability we've got yet. The ability's not great unless I'm really far behind, but then again, since I come almost last in the moving order, it's basically guaranteed 2 spaces at least. Dude, that ability's incredible. That's alright. Should I say what I can do? Sure, go ahead. Okay, so my ability is called Loser's Desperation for some reason. It's not a very good name, but it's a good ability. I can move 1 space for every person ahead of me, which means I can catch up if I'm far behind. Actually, considering that you come last in the animal movements, it's not improbable that you could use it to move 11 spaces. Maybe, but even if I got a lead like that, I can't do anything when I'm ahead. It's worse than just running when I'm in first. Oh, did it say abilities top to bottom? I thought it was bottom to top, not abilities or movement. Because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm in first, and then comes Ox, etc., and then Tiger, so she would be pretty far down. If she's the furthest down, then it has to be top to bottom movement order, which would imply that if she used, actually, if she used it first turn, Dog would move 1, she would move 11 if everyone else moves 1 at least, and I think there's no other person who can move none unless there's bad confession, which moves you no spaces forward, or they get executed by deliberately choosing not to move. So assuming everyone moves at least 1, Pig would then be in a position to move up to spot 11, which would then give Dog the opportunity in the next round to move forward 20 spaces, putting him in field 21, 3 away from the winning position, which would then be an incredible position for him to be in if there is no one else that could really mess him up. And there he is. There are a couple of people. Dragon for sure can stop him there in his tracks and allow someone else, like Ox, who can move 1 step behind him to then move into 20th place and then move forward rapidly. It all depends a bit on movement order. So there's definitely Jade Emperor, who put all of these abilities in. There's a lot of abilities that really screw up the potential of working as a team unless everyone is unconditionally on board. Because there's so many sneaky skills that can literally put you miles ahead of anyone else, or close to that, within 1 turn, basically. Alright. So that's that then. That's everyone's abilities. And what was the point of that exactly? It felt like I was in class or something. It gave us peace of mind and a greater perspective. True, but I don't know if it answered the question of what we should do now. It did not, but it gave us the opportunity to even answer, or even have the opportunity to answer that question ourselves. We all need to cross the finish line at the same time, right? It's simple then. Let's all just promise to run every turn. That way we'll move at the same rate and finish at the same time. You know that 12 turn limit thing? No? Slipped out of your brain? Morn, weren't you listening to the damn rules? Thanks for pointing that out, Dragon. We've only got 12 turns to cross and there's 24 spaces to move. If we ran each turn, we'll only get halfway there. So that's it then, we're screwed. Calm down, everyone. I'm sure we can come to some sort of solution here. We have a lot of abilities at our disposal. Maybe we can work something out. Curses, we're really being undone by this stupid game? Who on earth would put us through something this childish? Actually, I think I might know who the Jade Emperor is. What? For real? Seriously? You're not messing with us, are you? So, it seems I was not the only one to notice. Wait, Snake, you know too? Why didn't you say anything earlier? What good would it do? What good? I think I've got the goddamn right to know who's putting us through this bullshit. I don't think talking about it is wise. Well, at this point I think we're all going to demand to know. Monkey, who do you think it is? To be clear, I'm not certain. However, there's a piece of evidence which strongly leads to this conclusion. As some of you might have noticed, the Jade Emperor head would look like part of a butterfly tattoo, exposed on his hand. Monkey was right, I'd seen that too. There's someone I know who also has a butterfly tattoo there on his body. And this person is disturbed. Someone I've warned about. A patient of mine. Who? Brian Morris. Oh no, not Brian Morris. Sorry. Morris? That last name? No. His mother brought him to me. She asked me to try to help him control his violent streak. Ever since his father was executed, he had been struggling. I tried, I swear, I tried everything I knew to try to help him, but it would only make him angrier. Recently, he even stopped coming to the sessions. I told his mother about this. I warned her that her son might have some serious issues, but I never thought it would amount to something like this. Morris, huh? Now things are starting to come together. Falsely executed? No, this can't be the same guy. Yo, what the fuck are you people talking about? You all know this punk? What's going on? Brian Morris, son of Aaron Morris, son of the man arrested and executed for the cold-blooded murder of his employer Amadeus Bowen. Amadeus Bowen was a huge deal. He was the CEO of a major entertainment company. Not many people were of more importance in our city than the chief of police Oliver Bowen, but his brother Amadeus was one of them. His murder shocked the community, made national news. A heroic and beloved public figure had been murdered in his own office. Aaron Morris was arrested the next day. The man claimed he was innocent. He swore it across his heart and hoped to die. The case against him told a different story. Bowen's body was hidden in his personal safe, so discovering it took longer than expected, but once it was found, the time of death was quickly determined. It wasn't an exact time, but it gave a reasonable range. The only person to have entered the victim's office during that time frame was Morris, as numerous eyewitnesses would attest. And Bowen's death wasn't something that could be done remotely. He was strangled, bludgeoned to death, then stuffed in a safe. There also weren't any secret entrances into the office, nor was it possible for someone to have been hiding in the office the whole time. If that wasn't proof enough, the weapon used to bludgeon Bowen was found disposed of in a river. It had been disposed in a river awfully close to Morris's house. Also, while much of the money that had been taken from Bowen's safe was never recovered, a stack of bills with Bowen's fingerprints was found in the glove compartment of Morris's car. Speaking of fingerprints, Morris's were recovered on the inside of the safe, a place Morris had no place in looking. More and more evidence kept coming out and stacking up against Morris. All of this evidence, and yet my father decided to defend him in court. My father legitimately believed in Morris's innocence. He began to prepare his defense based on the fact that the footage from the security cameras in the building had been erased. Digital logs showed that someone used Bowen's MasterCard to enter the security room and tamper with the technology before Morris ever met with Bowen. This defense came crumbling down when it was revealed that the night before the murder, Bowen and Morris had gone drinking at a bar. The bartender testified that at some point during the night, Bowen dropped his wallet on the floor. After the two left, Morris came back in to return the wallet to Bowen. The next morning, Bowen's secretary testified that Bowen's MasterCard was missing from his wallet. The police determined that the bar trip was the only reasonable time that the MasterCard could have been taken. The biggest point for my father's defense suddenly turned to a damning story for the prosecution. Still, my father fought valiantly in the court for Morris's innocence. He argued every possible point of uncertainty, hammered on about how it was all circumstantial, and pleaded the jury to understand the meaning of reasonable doubt. To be honest, I agree with the defendant there. Like, most of what I've heard so far is just circumstantial evidence. Yes, all, as circumstantial evidence points out, could be because he was the one who murdered him, but it's not necessarily true. None of that is, 100% certain foolproof evidence. But in the end, it wasn't enough. Morris was found guilty, and the judge gave him the death penalty due to a complete lack of remorse. Also, this might just be me, but the death penalty, in a case where there is no concrete evidence and just circumstantial evidence, seems like an incredibly stupid thing to do. I mean, I'm not an advocate of the death penalty in the first place, but for a case where there's not even hard evidence, like I can understand it in some cases of where a serial killer, for example, actually confesses to his crimes and is proud of it. Then I'm like, okay, fair enough. But in this case, that doesn't sound like a good call to make. My father died of illness a few years later, around the time Morris was finally executed. He said he lived a good life on the whole, a life he was proud of. But in that hospital bed, he mentioned to me that one of his few regrets was being unable to save Aaron Morris. In the end, despite the overwhelming flood of evidence to the contrary, my father still believed in his client, like a good lawyer should. And now his son Brian, who should have been a senior in high school, was going out of his way to take revenge, to avenge his father? That's what this was. Fuck this. Mouse, what's going on? Seriously, this is revenge for your dad's execution? I get never being able to accept that your father was very obviously a murderer, but why the hell would you take it out on us? Even as a criminal, your dad clearly wanted the best for you in life. Why would you throw that all away for a half-baked revenge plot where you couldn't even hide your identity for a handful of minutes? And why would you take it out on me? What, are you angry that my father wasn't able to get your dad off the hook for his very obvious murder? Mouse, I like you less and less by the minute, although I didn't like her very much from the start. My father truly believed in your dad's innocence and did everything he could to try to help him. And now you're going to take that out on me? That's bullshit, and you know it, Brian. Well, you don't know why exactly he's taking it out on you. Whoa, Mouse, I know you're angry, but calm down. No, she's right to get angry. I'm fucking pissed as well. What the hell did I do in any of this? I've got no idea who this Morris punk is at all. There's no reason I should be here. It's completely ridiculous. What? It's really unfair. I mean, seriously, what did I do to deserve this? Like, okay, maybe I put out an article or two on the trial, but it wasn't anything unfair. And tons of people put out articles. It was a big event. Why single out me? It just sounds like you deserved it. Well, I know why I am here. I testified against his father at trial. I was in the building at the time of the murder. Bowen had discussed interest in purchasing one of my statues for his office. When I came to bring it to him, I was in the waiting room for a dreadfully long time. Sorry. And in that waiting room, I was a witness able to conclusively say that the only person who entered Bowen's office during the time frame of his death was Aaron Morris. Oh, I was a witness in that trial too. Maybe that's why I thought I recognized you. Yeah, I was also around at the time Morris was killed. He was going to discuss me doing some advertising for him. They thought an Olympian would be a good face to sell their stuff, I guess. Anyways, I talked about how I saw him carrying the murder weapon. My testimony probably was what stopped that creep from weaseling out of it. I also testified. I was Mr. Bowen's secretary at the time, and I also could talk about who entered his office. I was also the one who gave Morris up as a suspect to the police when they were interrogating me. I'm the reason he got arrested in the first place. My construction company was doing some work on a nearby building that day. I think I mentioned something to the police about when I saw Morris drive off. It was nothing big though, was never called to court or anything. I don't know why it should have been a big enough deal to land me here. It appears you're in the same boat as me, my friend. This Brian punk seems to really not like people saying what they saw to the police. Is that really such a crime? I went to Bowen to discuss the possibility of investing in one of my films, and I saw Morris pass by in the building. Is that really such a crime? I was never even brought into court. A shame too, because I was willing to give the performance of the lifetime to catch that devious crook. I've already mentioned how I'm connected to Brian. If I was a better therapist, I would have been able to lead him away from the path of revenge, not towards it. I've seen the kid around a few times. Maybe I could have talked some sense into him too. You knew Brian, Bob? Knew is a strong word. Like I said, I've seen him around. And why were you brought into this? Easy. I run the bar where Morris filched a MasterCard from Bowen. That testimony of mine really shattered the defense's arguments. And I thank you for that. Ox? I am a prosecutor. And for some reason or another, for one of my first cases, I ended up helping with the prosecution of Morris. It doesn't make much sense why they'd have someone who is so wet behind the ears help with such a high-profile, high-stakes case. But it does make sense why Brian would target me. I was very good at helping the prosecution. It also makes sense why he would target me. After all, I was the one who arrested his dad. Wait, Bunny, you're a cop? That's probably the most surprising of all of it so far. Guilty as charged. I was almost certain I recognized a number of you. This would explain why. Honestly, I should have caught on sooner. I guess I was just too distracted by the insanity of it all. I gotta say though, while I'm honored Brian decided to choose me, his choice of targets confuses me a bit. Some of these make sense, but for a bunch of you people, there are surely better targets. Mark's totally right. Take the judge for instance. There were a bunch of people who said that him applying the death penalty for a single murder was unnecessary. He's been accused of succumbing to, public pressure. Oh, who cares about any of that? The kid's a complete nutcase, through and through, a dastard and a dullard. Try to psychoanalyze the comings and goings of the psycho of a head case and you'll end up as crazy as them. I must say, why is it moving forward? I'm not doing anything. Ah, I see. I probably had my mouse wheel in a bad position. Yeah, what was the one I missed? I don't know. Hey, I think there's a great discussion about how we talk about mental illness to be had there, but this bigger point was right. We've just been going on and on about why we're here, but that's not going to help us get out. We need to focus on the current problems and we can save worrying about all that other stuff for later. Bunny's right. The issue we had before getting completely sidetracked was how we're all going to be able to cross the finish line at the same time. We have a lot of abilities, right? I think there should probably be some way where you could combine them to let us get to the other side fast. That seems to me to be a recipe for disaster. Any solution found would be a complex multi-step process with much room for error or betrayal. What does anyone get out of betraying here? Why do you all keep getting hung up on that? I think Monkey might be right about the complexity part. There's a much simpler solution, we should prioritize on that. A simpler solution? What is it? Do you recall what Brian said about items, specifically the minor trinkets? I understand what you're saying. You do? There are 12 minor trinkets and their movement is equal to the number of people using them. If we're able to find all 12, we'd be able to cross the finish line as a group. In 2 rounds. Great idea, Horse. Now we've got a clear game plan that'll let us all get out alive. With this, we can all be saved, right? Thank God, I was getting worried there for a second. Would it really be that simple, though? What do you mean? Nothing much, I'm merely pointing out the fact that this solution is, well, rather basic. No offense intended, but a child could have worked it out. I question the point of all this work if it were to be solved so simply. What's your problem, Snake? Why do you have to be such a downer? I'm not being a downer, merely pointing out a particular oddity. Do you have a better idea? No, I'm not dismissing the plan. Then what are you doing? Raising a fort. So jack shit is the answer then? He's right though, would things be this simple? Yeah, what if the minor trinkets are super duper hidden? Like there's no guarantee that we'll actually be able to find them all. Things could all fall apart. Calm down, would you? Like Horse pointed out, with the trinkets it would only take 2 rounds to finish the race. We have plenty of time to search and the school isn't all that large. Let's first try to find all the minor trinkets. In the meantime, I suggest anyone concerned think of a backup plan. Sounds like a plan. Should we start looking then? Actually, we should make a move. We've been talking for a while now and round 1 is almost over. I looked over to a nearby clock and found that Bunny was absolutely right. Good catch, Bunny. Everyone split up and just click the run button, okay? We'll come back here, watch the animals move, and then we'll start our search. Alright, let's do it. With a discernible game plan formed, everyone split up with a sense of purpose. It certainly felt like we had a real chance at pulling this off. Until one of them does not click the run button, but it does something else for turn 1. Snake was right to bring up his concerns. I was burdened with a general sense of unease, and a palpable sense of anger at Brian. How ungrateful could you be? How ridiculous. Oh, shut up, Mouse, you don't understand a thing. I mean, neither do I, but she certainly doesn't. But no, I couldn't think about that now. I needed to focus on moving forwards. I turned on my tablet and pressed the run button. There, done. By the way, something that, obviously not what the game is going for, but something that could be quite fun, actually, just an idea throwing out there, is if you couldn't see who was who on the board. If literally all you could see was these are the pieces, and the pieces move, and you only know which piece is your own. In that case, you could still work together and reasonably say, okay, look, this piece is mine. What's yours? But at the same time, it would add that additional effect of just throwing a bit more chaos in there. My move input, so I went back to the cafeteria. The others gathered. Everyone just ran, right? No one tried any tricky shit? Please. There would be absolutely no point in that at this stage of the game. Well, I suppose Pig might panic and hope for an early 11 space lead. I'd never do that. Settle down, will you? Especially because if she doesn't do that, she's guaranteed to get that lead next turn anyway. There's no reason for her to do it yet. It'll all be confirmed in just a second. Just as Ox said, the speakers turned on a few moments later. Round 1 has ended. Now let us see how the race has progressed. The rat has run 1 space. The ox has run 1 space. The tiger has run 1 space. The bunny has run 1 space. The dragon has run 1 space. The snake has run 1 space. The horse has run 1 space. The sheep has run 1 space. The monkey has run 1 space. The rooster has run 1 space. The dog has run 1 space. The pig has run 1 space. Now, round 2 has begun. Do your best and choose wisely. I felt myself breathe a sigh of relief looking at the results. Of course I didn't actually think anyone would disobey the plan, but I couldn't help worrying. Great work, team. We did it. Yay. Great, yes, we all pressed the button. Good job, us. It is a fairly basic achievement, but we should still appreciate it. No, we should start looking for minor trinkets. Round 2 is already started. Quite right, it'd be best to split up and search as much area as possible. I'll search over down the right corridor of the first floor. You will, then let me be of assistance. You wish to search with me? 2 finders are better than 1, right? You aren't wrong. Sure, you can come along with me. I want to check out the training room I saw on my way here. Looks interesting. There might be a trinket there, and it's not just because you want to train, is it? If that's the case, can I come along with you? I'm still nervous about threats in the school, so I want to stick with someone strong. I've no issue with it. Thank you. I'm interested in looking around the library. Mouse, would you care to join me in my search? Did I care to join him? Who to search with? And I think at this point is where we'll end, or where I'll end my first recording session. This was probably split up in like 3 parts at least. So yeah, I'm actually enjoying the game a lot from until now. I was expecting to enjoy the game a lot just from how it looked, but I'm glad that it has lived up to my expectations so far, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.